It's a big privilege for me today to be talking to one of my heroes of many years, Eddie Lawson, one of the world's greatest racers, and perhaps to me, the most recognizable name in American racing. Eddie, thank you for talking with us.
It's an honor to be here. There's a lot of my heroes here.
So, Eddie, to start with, what drew me over to this area before I saw you was this incredibly beautiful road racer below here. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, my grandfather bought this machine back in the early 70s. I rode it from 71 to 74. I rode it Willow Springs, Ontario Motor Speedway, Riverside, a bunch of tracks, Southern California. And my grandfather sold it off, and it went away for a lot of years. And Julie, she found it a couple years ago, and she bought it for my birthday.
And Julie's your wife, correct?
Yeah. And she found the thing, and it was actually the bike that I rode. It was unbelievable, and so I restored it, and here it is today. So.
Did you actually do the restoration yourself?
I did. Yeah. Well, not the paint. I can't paint for anything, but
it is absolutely gorgeous. Let's talk about that. From how old were you when you first started racing motorcycles?
I was about 12 years old, and I started road racing about 14.
Was that unusual for that time for someone that young to start road racing?
Maybe a little bit, but at the time they'll give you a license. So I don't know how it is today, but at that time there weren't too many kids that young road racing.
When did you first start riding motorcycles as opposed to racing?
I started riding in '65. I started riding out in the desert, and just my grandfather and my father raced deserts. And of course I tagged along and just rode around in the pits while they were out racing, so that's kind of how I started.
I remember a lot of things about your riding career that I really followed throughout my lifetime, and I recall the dirt track days, but I've got to tell you, one of the photos that's in my mind when I think about the early days of road racing, I remember a photo of you on a Kawasaki with super bike bars. They weren't clip-ons, they were super bike bars, and I think it was at Ontario Motor Speedway. Just an incredible shot. What was it like in those days where you were riding the super bikes as opposed to, the purebred road racers? What was it like then?
Wow, they had a lot of engine, no chassis, no tires. You can't compare. Today's bikes, they're just, computer-generated missiles that work beautifully, and they have incredible suspension, chassis work so nice, and back then, everything was just trial and error. The shocks there was no such thing. You take them apart and let's try this, and the tires were just rock hard, and they didn't work, you'd guess at everything. You'd hack the chassis apart, and you'd weld on a chunk of steel, and let's try that. And so it was fun. It was fun, but it was a fun time.
It sounds like they were a handful. Is that true?
Oh, it was crazy. You just burn the tire, just open the throttle and burn the tire. So. Well,
you talk about burning the tires. I feel fortunate that I was alive actually when they had the 500cc two-strokes in World Road Racing Competition. I got to see it a few times. I went to Aston one time and watched there. To me, those had to be the craziest motorcycles ever, the most difficult motorcycles to ride. You've ridden one I haven't. What was it like to ride those 500cc Grand Prix bikes?
Yeah. Well, they weighed 200 pounds and they made 200 horsepower. So power was 1-to-1. And
that is crazy.
Yeah, and the power band was from 9 to 12. So you think about how narrow that was, and they were like a light switch. So, and there was there was 5 guys who could win, maybe. So yeah, no, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
The one thing that strikes me when I saw those bikes before they had electronics was what you just said. That was trying to manage them coming out of a turn with the power and the sliding and the tires of the time. What was that like? How could you control that slide or control the throttle coming out of those turns? How'd you do that?
I don't know, just stupid. No, I guess that's what they paid us to do, but today they have wheelie control and traction control, and their power bands from 9 to 18, so I guess, I feel pretty good about what we did,
Well, I just want to tell you, I'm a fan of all motorcycle racing, but the new world racing with the 4-strokes, it'll never be the same. Those years, the 500 two-strokes, I'm glad I got to experience them, and I want to tell you, thank you very much for talking to us today. I know that when we get this on the web, a lot of your fans are going to like to see it.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Bye.